Now, one thing Sean McCoy stated yesterday on Speakeasy was that they was ready to inflict harm and violence against Caitlin Clark. Got went on about her day, play basketball, talk to the media about the game, but you never see her at Caitlin Clark and this whole situation involving Alyssa Thomas.
Now the fallout from the
about inclusiveness. Our league is about competition. Our league is about elevating. We're about elevating.
Tool that will live with this league, I believe, forever. I think that picture, the fist to the throat, is there for somebody, so you could not have it be a racial conversation, that's the facts. Caitlin Clark with all the...
Caitlin Clark's response to an entire week of noise? Silence. Dead silence. No statement, no press conference, nothing. She just went about her business and let everybody else talk themselves in circles. And that's the play. Stephanie White's press conference clip is the thing everybody's dissecting right now, with half the internet convinced White was quietly siding with Alyssa Thomas over her own franchise player. I get why people are reading it that way, but here's the bigger picture. Every single person who steps into a public-facing job, athlete, coach, content creator, doesn't matter, signs up for scrutiny the second the cameras turn on. That's not an excuse for death threats, not even close, but it is the reality of the business, and Clark clearly understands that better than almost anyone in this league right now. Which brings us to the part of this story nobody wants to talk about.
Get hit harder than any NBA player right now. I think we all could agree with that. If you guys do not believe Caitlin Clark get fouled more than NBA players, you retarded. I just gotta be honest, man. One comment said, let's see here. Oh, Lucky Charm. We ain't gonna read that. Somebody said if it...
Here's what gets lost every single time this cycle happens. Professional athletes get death threats. Content creators get death threats. I've been doing this nearly 4 years, and it's not a dull moment. Somebody's always in the comments talking about catching me at a game. That's the ugly side of putting yourself in front of an audience. And it doesn't make the threats okay, but it does mean you can't act shocked when it happens. The moral of the story is simple. If you open yourself up to the public, you don't get to be selectively outraged about how the public reacts to you. And that's exactly the double standard we're about to watch play out with Caitlin Clark herself.
We're so concerned about the safety on the court, but time and time again, we're having people threatening our lives. I'm sick and tired of it, and it's time for them to step up and have our backs.
The WNBA saying they condemn all forms of hate, saying in a statement, the safety and well-being of everyone in our community is always the league's top priority, adding the league and security team have been in contact with the Phoenix Mercury organization and remain committed to protecting all.
People conveniently forget Caitlin Clark got death threats too. A fan literally said they were ready to inflict harm on her. And you know what Clark did? Nothing. She didn't hold a press conference about it. She didn't play the victim. She showed up, played basketball, talked to the media about the game, and moved on with her life. That's the contrast that matters here. A lot of these WNBA players have made a habit out of turning every hard foul or every ugly comment section into a referendum on the whole league, and rarely do you see them take responsibility for what happens on the court in the same breath. Clark's restraint in that exact same situation is the receipt that keeps getting ignored.
Actually portray herself as being the victim. See, that is something that these WNBA players do a lot. They always make themselves a victim and not take responsibility for their actions on the basketball court. Now, with that being said, let's head on over to X so I can show y'all what the hell I'm talking about. Now, something I want to talk about before we get into Caitlin Clark response to Stephanie White and this whole Alyssa Thomas situation. Now, we heard Alyssa Thomas give her response to the media. Now, this is a clip from Caitlin Clark, which was a couple months ago, which was almost like a nonsense.
Now here's a clip of Clark from a couple months back. A reporter tries to get her to engage on this ridiculous leg sleeve question, and just listen to how she handles it. She doesn't take the bait, doesn't give them a headline, just deflects it clean. That's not luck, that's media training. And it's the difference between Clark and a lot of these other professional women's basketball players who just haven't had to develop that instinct yet. Which is exactly why Stephanie White's comments landed the way they did. She works in media, at ESPN no less, and there are certain things you simply don't say out loud if you don't want it turned into a headline.
Now, I have to be completely honest with you guys. After doing further research, that picture was AI, guys. It was not real. And disregard that last couple content. When we talked about that, like I got, bro, but I just fact checked it. It was not a real picture. But with all that being said, this is what Good Morning America is currently saying about Caitlin Clark.
This is the bonehead mistake. Not that Stephanie White necessarily meant to defend Alyssa Thomas, but it sure sounded like she was putting the blame back on the fans instead of holding Thomas accountable for what happened on the court. Intentional or not, that's how it landed with a huge chunk of the fan base, and once something sounds like that, the framing is already out of your hands. Words matter, especially when you're the head coach of the player who got hit.
Clark, which was a couple months ago, which was like almost like a nonsense question. But listen to the level of professionalism Caitlin Clark have about this question. Let's roll the clip real quick. Let's listen.
Leg sleeve come about?
I knew that would be the first question.
I wanted to ask about golf, but she went to the leg sleeve.
People are wondering.
Just a little compression on the leg. I mean, I don't know.
Leg sleeve come about?
I knew that would be the first.
So you guys heard Caitlin Clark response. Now, some of you guys are saying probably.
And this is the moment everybody's been waiting for. Caitlin Clark, in attendance for USA versus Bosnia at the FIFA World Cup in San Francisco, looking completely unbothered by all of this noise happening around her. She pulls up, enjoys her day, doesn't say a word about any of it. The optics alone tell you everything about how she's choosing to handle this. And the comments under it were split between, she loves American sports, and, there's no way this is real.
It ain't that long.
All about the visual that will live with this league, I believe, forever. I think that picture, the fist to the throat, is that big of a deal, Dan. I wish it wasn't racial. I wish it was more Mabry or somebody, so you could have had not have it be a racial conversation, because it's just in our polarized society. I hate that. I wish that could be out of it, and we could look at the fact that the face of the league, Caitlin Clark, no doubt about it, every measure possible, is.
The comments under that appearance were wild. People saying Clark gets hit harder than any NBA player right now. And honestly, if you've watched a Fever game this season, it's hard to argue with that take. She's absorbing more contact than almost any guard in the league and getting whistled for a fraction of it. That's the officiating conversation Stephanie White has been hammering all season, and it's the exact frustration boiling over in that press conference everybody's mad about.
We know Stephanie White did this press conference, which we're looking at a clip of yesterday that broke the damn internet. Many people was insinuating that Stephanie White could actually be siding and kind of defending Alyssa Thomas, man. Pretty much saying that we need to protect our players. Now, one thing Sean McCoy stated yesterday on Speak Easy was that all professional athletes allegedly get death threats. Hell, even content creators.
Now I have to be completely honest with you guys. After doing further research, that photo of Clark at the soccer match was AI. It was not real, and I want to walk that back immediately, because half the internet ran with it as confirmation she was too fake, or too unbothered, and none of that was grounded in reality. That's the danger of this news cycle right now. Everybody's reacting to content before it's even verified, and that's exactly the kind of noise Clark is trying to stay out of.
Now, some of the comments said it so good to see her. She gets in harder than any of these guys, and nothing is called. She definitely get hit harder than any NBA player right now. I think we all could agree with that. If you guys do not believe Caitlin Clark get fouled more than NBA players, you retarded. I just gotta be honest, man. One comment said, let's see here. Oh, Lucky Charm. We ain't gonna read that. Somebody said if this is true, she shows how much she loves America's sports. Definitely look like AI. Somebody said that's cool as hell watching.
This is the actual incident driving the entire cycle. On June 24th, Alyssa Thomas drove her fist into Caitlin Clark's throat during a scramble for a loose ball in the Mercury's win over the Fever. No foul was called live, but the league upgraded it to a flagrant 2 the next day and suspended Thomas 1 game, the first suspension of her 13-year career. Thomas is calling it a complete accident, and in the aftermath she says she and her family have received death threats and been called racial slurs. Both things can be true at once. That was a genuinely dangerous, reckless play, and that nobody, including Thomas, deserves to be threatened over it.
So I can show y'all what the hell I'm talking about. Now, something I want to talk about before we get into Caitlin Clark response to Stephanie White and this whole Alyssa Thomas situation. Now, we heard Alyssa Thomas give her response to the media. Now, this is a clip from Caitlin Clark, which was a couple months ago, which was like almost like a nonsense question. But listen to the level of professionalism.
Thomas went after Commissioner Kathy Engelbert directly, saying the league isn't doing enough to protect its players off the court, and she's not wrong to be frustrated. But this is where the WNBA has a real problem on its hands. The league's statement said player safety and well-being is the top priority, and Engelbert reportedly had league security reach out to Phoenix after hearing about the threats. That's the bare minimum response to an escalating harassment problem that keeps happening to different players every single season, whether it's Thomas now or Clark a few months ago.
That if these players open up themselves to the public, you cannot be mad when the public feel a certain type of way about you. That's the moral of the entire story. Now, everybody has been waiting to hear from Caitlin Clark. Now, I'm going to tell you, she has not spoken to any media yet. She ain't did no media run, no media talk, but she did appear at a soccer game. Now, we're going to get to that on X in a hot second, but something else we have to address.
Stephanie White addressing this directly before her presser even started, calling the toxicity, racism, and homophobia flooding this league absolutely unacceptable, and saying most of it isn't coming from real NBA fans. I actually think this is White at her best, not her worst. She's not excusing what Thomas did on the court. She's condemning the online mob mentality that's turned every hard foul into a referendum on two different fan bases. If you're sending death threats over a basketball play, you were never a fan of the sport to begin with.
There's been so much more toxicity, racism, homophobia, straight out like nonsense, hate nonsense. And it is absolutely unacceptable. Most of this coming from the online community, most of this, in my heart of hearts, I believe, not coming from WNBA fans, with players and teams, that is going to come. But it's not hard to not be a jerk. And if you are one of these people
and this is the take that's going to stick with people, Christine Brennan and Dan Dock breaking down how this incident became racialized instantly, with Brennan flat out saying she wishes it hadn't been, because it's dragged this whole story into a much messier conversation than it needed to be. Then Doc pivots into the money angle. Clark's the one who's brought the charter flights, the TV ratings, the attendance boom that's made every player in this league richer, Thomas included, and the response to that is a fist to her throat. That's a cold way to frame it, but it's not wrong, and it's exactly why this story isn't going away anytime soon.
But she went to the leg sleeve.
People are wondering. Just a little compression on the leg. I mean, I don't know.
Leg sleeve come about.
I knew that would be the
So you guys heard Caitlin Clark response. Now, some of you guys are saying probably to yourself, John, why play that? Because it just shows you how Caitlin Clark.
What makes this particular controversy stickier than a typical flagrant foul dispute is the money conversation sitting underneath it. Clark is the engine behind this WNBA attendance and television ratings surge, the charter flights, the sponsorship dollars, and the mainstream crossover attention that every player in the league, Thomas included, is now benefiting from financially. When commentators like Christine Brennan and Dan Dock frame the throat shot as the person who brought all of this getting hit by it, they're tapping into a real and uncomfortable tension in this league. A superstar whose physical safety is directly tied to the sport's commercial growth, getting hit harder and more often than any of her peers, often without a call. At the same time, that framing shouldn't be used to wave away the death threats and racial abuse Thomas says she's received. Those are two separate problems that both deserve to be taken seriously, rather than traded off against each other. Until the WNBA finds a consistent, proactive way to protect players from online harassment, instead of reacting after each individual firestorm, this exact cycle is going to keep repeating itself with a different pair of names attached.